Good afternoon, live from Kbev Studios in Beverly Hills High School. Welcome to the fourth and final ASB debate for 2018. This is the head row debate. Today's debate is hosted by Kbev Highlights and ASB. The participants for today are candidates for next year's head row president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and student board member. The questions were created by ASB, Highlights, and Kbev and have not been shared with the candidates. I am Noah Danesh from Kbev.
I am Maya Yosef, ASB president.
And I'm Jason Harward, co-editor-in-chief of Highlights. We are your moderators for today's debate.
I'd like to start by welcoming the candidates for head row president, Jared and Ryan. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
We will begin with your opening statements. It is 30 seconds, and you will get, Jared, you'll be going first by random selection. Go ahead.
Just go. Shabbat Shalom, Norman Nation. I am Jared David Kurtz, and I want to be your next head row president. I'm not going to waste your time talking about why you should vote for me. If you want to do that, see my God's Plan video on YouTube. But what I am going to say is that you can always teach the skills, but you cannot teach the attitude. As street poet 50 Cent once said, hate it or love it, the underdog's always on top. When you go and vote, remember the GOAT.
Hi everybody, my name is Ryan Abershami. I am running for next year's head row president. I plan on using my ideas and my experience in ASB to make your 2018-2019 school year at Beverly Hills High School the best that it can be. If you elect another candidate, I will sincerely wish him the best of successes in improving our school. But if you empower me with your confidence, I will do everything but the impossible to make our goals and our ideas a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so I'll start with the first question. So what is the biggest challenge at our school right now, and what's your plan on fixing it?
So I think we have a lot of problems going on at our school. Safety being one of them, school spirit being another. What my stance on safety is I think it's more important to keep the students safe rather than making the students feel safe. Putting up a fence. I think that was a good step in the right direction, but I don't think it's enough. Simply, I think the fence was put up to make the students feel safe. Without armed guards around our school and without police officers there to protect us, someone with a gun can hop the fence and come wreak havoc on our school. School spirit. I think we should work harder.
That's 30 seconds.
Personally, I think the biggest problem at Beverly Hills High School is school spirit, like Ryan said. Walking around the schools on Fridays, not seeing anyone wear Norman gear, or Mondays wearing college gear is a really big disappointment. You should not want to do that because of the extra credit maybe your teacher gets. And I think we can improve school spirit by empowering the students, by starting off the year strong, showing that we are all Normans and we are proud to go to this school.
So I'll have the next question. In ASB, it's no secret that the head row vice president really sets the tone of the class. What is the tone you want to set and how you do that? We'll start with Jared.
Well, the tone I want to set is obviously a positive tone. We want to start off the year strong with spirit, events, trying to make everyone feel welcome here at Beverly. And I think we can do that by throwing different events like pep rallies at the beginning of the year, getting people excited for the school year, getting people excited to learn, excited to come to Beverly, and I think that's a really big thing that we can work on.
Can you repeat the question, please?
You as head row president would set the tone of the ASB class. How do you plan to do that?
So this year as head row vice president, I've learned that it's not the events that I plan, it's not the ideas that I bring to the class that help move the class forward. It's the fact that I'm there and helping other students get passionate, get creative about their events. I planned Wish Week this year. We raised over $13,000, but that's not something I want to bring into my presidency. In addition to Wish Week, I want to empower those students, like students planning color wars, students playing pep rallies, to get out, to get excited.
Thank you, guys. So I have two individual questions now. Ryan, I'll start with you. So you mentioned security as something you want to really improve on here at the school. What is one specific thing you want to do to improve security?
So, like I mentioned, we have a fence put up. And it's no secret that someone from outside could easily hop our fence. Our security guards are not armed. So someone with an assault rifle can really do some harm. Again, it's not about making us feel safe. It's about actually making us safe. By putting SROs, armed guards in front of our school, reaching the goal of school safety is really a possibility.
And as a follow-up to that, so what will you do to make sure that your plan to make our schools safer will be put in place?
So over the summer, I actually attended every city council meeting, which they have every other week, in order to learn more about the city and what they do. And what I've learned is city council members have a lot of influence on a lot of things that go around the city, even the police department. And if we could get on board with city council members, the mayor, and bringing SROs, trained police officers to our campus, and not only one, not only blocking one entry point, but all entry points at our school. That's something I can bring to the school. So,
Thank you, Ryan. Now, individual question for Jared. You mentioned school spirit as something you want to tackle in your presidency. What is one specific step you will take to make sure that the student body becomes more spirited?
I think a big thing is like choosing the right spirit days, making something that's not too hard for people, making sure that it's a spirit day that like everyone can participate in, like maybe something like Jersey Day. Like most people do have jerseys, but if you have a spirit day like meme day or something like that, maybe people don't want to put in the effort to participate. So if you make it easy, then I feel like that's a good way for people to participate.
And a follow-up to, you mentioned Friday having the Norman spirit.
Yes.
Do you have any plans to make the Norman spirit more involved?
I mean, just everyone's just got to do it. There's nothing we can really do except encourage people, show them that you should be proud to go to Beverly. Like it's not something you should be ashamed of. And once we get past that, I feel like people will be happy to wear this Norman spirit.
Thank you.
Cool. So since ASB is a student-run class, you guys would be leading the class. How do you guys plan on balancing your power within ASB with your relationships and friendships outside of class?
We'll start with that, Jared.
That's a great question. Like Ryan and I, we're good friends, but like when the debate comes, we like get down to the nitty gritty. Like we're kind of enemies, but we're still friends. But the thing is that that's a great question. You want to balance the power. So you want to be friendly with everyone, of course. Being nice is like the best thing, but I think you also want to show your authority, show them that if you don't, like kids in the class, if you don't participate, if you don't help, then like you're not going to be a good person in the class. We want the best people in this class. We want them to participate. We want them to be engaged.
So what Jared mentioned in his opening statement was, you can teach the skills, but you can't teach the passion. This year I'm vice president, and something that I've been battling with is, how can I balance my friendships with kids outside the class and even inside the class while still being able to lead them at the same time? Because the rest of the student body is relying on me as vice president to plan their events, not only plan the events, but keep a school and friendly environment, safe and friendly environment at school. And I respect what he said in that you can teach the skills but not the passion. And as vice president, I think I really learned those skills.
So this is more of a hypothetical, but I think it's good to get you guys thinking. If there is not a varsity football team next year, which is possible with the lack of experienced older players, what are your plans for homecoming? I guess we'll start with Ryan.
Well, originally this year we did not have, we thought we did not have a field for homecoming this year, and I'm proud in ASB that we were planning to work around that. We were planning on having a homecoming the week before, even though the field would have been completed a week after. A big thing while I was vice president is thinking on the go. And I do not want to give a certain answer right now because I feel like ASB should all work together, the students should all work together in coming up to with a solution to that question. So right now I'm going to say I don't know, but I am confident that ASB will work together in finding a solution to that question.
I think that what we should do if we don't have a football team is just take away homecoming from sports and make it like what it truly is, like what it is in the movies and the TVs. It's a dance. Estella Rosen, who's running for vice president, put forth that idea this year because when we were still talking about not having the thing, and I think that'd be a great idea. It's like a true like high school thing. Like you see it in the movies, you see it in TV all the time, and I think that if we have that in Beverly, it can really make the high school experience what people think it will be.
Thank you. So I've been able to sit in on a lot of ASB meetings. I've seen Maya leading the class, and she does a great job. But when there's a lot of different opinions, a very polarized ASB class, what is one tactic that you're going to use to make sure that we come to one decision that not only ASB agrees with, but that the whole student body agrees with? Because, again, there's such diverse opinions here at Beverly. So we'll start with you, Jared.
Personally, I don't think that you'll be able to poll the whole school on every single topic that ASB has to talk about. So I think that by putting their trust in either me or Ryan, they believe that we will do what's best for the school. But in the ASB class specifically, I think that we can really focus on the impact of what we're doing and which one outweighs the other. Maybe you really for one thing, but if you realize that one thing like money that we don't have, that will outweigh the cost of like not having like a balloon fight or something like that. If they can really understand the impact that things have at this school, that will really try to sway them one way or the other.
So this year, that was a big problem that we ran into. A lot of people had a lot of different ideas in the class. And I was slow to come to it, to be honest, but something that I learned was that we should never have to pick one thing over the other. At the end of the day, it's all about compromise. And what something Hetero has done this year, and I'm proud that we have done it, is we started meeting every single weekend or every other weekend and coming up with ways that we can lead the class for the next 2 weeks. And in those discussions, not only did we come up with a schedule, but we came up with conversation on how we can resolve the conflicts that we had disagreements on. So that's my stance.
Thank you.
So accountability is something to keep track of that's really hard as a hetero member. How will you guys keep people accountable for what they say?
So again, I'm going back to my experience because I think that's what it's all about. It's important that we have outgoing, fun people in ASB, but hetero president is a prestigious position and an important position responsible for leading the class, which in turn leads the school. And Maya's question was that, how can we hold people accountable? Well, with my experience, what I've done was I've had everyone complete calendars. And based on those calendars, and if they met those deadlines, we would either give them a grade or not give them a grade. So that's one way I can hold people accountable.
If I could ask a follow-up on that one.
Of course.
Did the calendar program, was it implemented and did it work?
So it was implemented. Again, try to be an open book. Something that I learned from my experience was that one set in stone way is not the way to go. Compromise, compromise, compromise. We were not able as hetero to compromise with the rest of the class because they didn't feel like it was the right way to hold people accountable. Now, with compromise, we can come up with a legitimate solution, not only through grades, but let's say through spirit points or whatever, to hold people accountable for the things that they're doing.
Personally, I think grades are a great way to hold people accountable. There's such a huge thing in today's society in high school to get good grades to get into college you want. So if the students in ASB know that if they don't do their jobs, their grade will go down and they maybe get a B or a C in the class, that'll really make them want to do well because the kids in that class want to get into a good college. They care about their lives. They care about the school. And I think that will really push them to want to do well and get a good grade in that class so they can both help themselves going into college but also help the school by being engaged.
If I could ask a follow-up to that too. Do you think it would be okay with this extrinsic motivation of a grade to give to the students? Do you think that's a way to do it?
Yes.
So you think, okay. Yeah.
Am I allowed to follow up on that, or we're not doing that right now?
Go for it.
So again, back to my experience. Look, it's about compromise. You can't tell somebody, I'm going to give you a C in the class if you don't do this, because that makes them not passionate, not excited about going to the events that they have to go to. Instead, building a way of leadership that inspires them to go there. I know band does something that most events that they have, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who's in band, it's optional for them to attend. Most every single person in band attends. Why? Because they're passionate about it. If we kept it towards grades, ASB members would not be passionate about going to events, and in turn, it would not get the effect that we want in the school.
Jared, do you have a response to that?
Yes, I was actually in marching band for 2 years, freshman and sophomore year, and I'd like to make a correction.
Go ahead.
The only things that are mandatory are the football games and the performances. The basketball games are not mandatory, and I don't know if you've ever been, but only like 1/3 of the band comes. They're not that passionate about well, most of them are, but if they were really passionate, they would all come to the basketball games, which is not a thing that happens. And if they don't come to the mandatory games, their grades will be deducted, so we can implement something like that as well in ASB.
Yeah, we have to move on.
All right.
When somebody says ASB does nothing, what is your response to that, Jared?
My response is just telling them about the things that we do, obviously. Most of the stuff that ASB does, if Ryan could probably agree with me, goes on behind the scenes. Not just planning events, but it's other things like that. Like putting out flyers around the school, like these are great posters that Estella does, like stuff like that, talking with administration, making sure their voices are being heard. Most people on the outside only see the events that we run, the pep rallies, the homecoming and stuff like that, but once we really expose them to what's truly going on in the class, the stuff that we do in the background, they will really understand that ASB does good work.
And then I guess to follow up to that, how do you expose them to that behind the scenes work? Like how do you really make them know what goes on behind the sines?
I think it's just face to face. Like if someone says like ASB doesn't do that, you should go up to them and be like, this is what we do. Because if they don't tell us that like they don't think they're doing a bad job, we'll never know that. So we'll assume that they think we're doing a good job. So just the face-to-face contact and explaining to them is what we should do.
I'm going to try to answer both of your questions right now. What I express every day in ASB is that we always have to give the students the benefit of the doubt. We plan, in my opinion, great events. A lot of students don't think so, and that's okay. I don't think it's our job to go and communicate to every student and tell them what we do behind the scenes, because that doesn't benefit them in any way. That's selfish on our part. We want to prove to them that we do something. Instead, let's plan events that proves to them that we do something. It's not about getting people to love ASB. I would love that, but that's not what it's all about. ASB is there to serve the students, not the other way around. So if we're there planning great events, then we can have students glad about our events and not say stuff like ASB doesn't do anything.
We'll have a final question for
Yeah.
Maya.
So this is a two-part question. What do you guys think is your biggest weakness? And what do you think makes you the best candidate to be running for the president of Beverly Hills High School?
I don't think it's a weakness, but I think about this all the time, and it gets to me a lot of the time. How do I become a better leader? Every time that I go into ASB, I tell myself that I am the worst leader there is. Not because I'm pessimistic or anything like that, in order for myself to improve. That's the weakness that I have. I can't express enough. From the beginning of freshman year where I started ASB until the end of junior year currently, everything that I have done was to grow myself as a leader. And that's not selfish. The reason I did that was one day, aspiring to be ASB president, have those leadership attributes to lead the class, which I know will do so much for the student body.
Personally, I think my biggest weakness is I don't have the experience like Ryan does. He's head row vice president. He has that experience. He has experience running the class, and I don't have that. But I also like to see that as a positive. Being only in ASB for 1 year, I've been on the outside of ASB for those 2 years. Ryan doesn't have that experience. I know what it's like to be the kid that's not in ASB, to like not have those thoughts being heard, and I can use that experience of the outside to strengthen what we have on the inside of ASB.
Thank you very much.
Do you mind if I comment on that?
That was the closing statement. Sorry. So thank you guys very much. Great job.
Thank you
Great
so
job,
much.
guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jared.
So we're going to have the presidents go off now. We are going to bring up the vice presidential
Kiana.
candidate. One of the vice presidential candidates for today, Estella Rosen, was not able to be here, so she did send in an introductory statement that we will read for her here today. This is by Estella. Hey Normans, I am so sorry that I am not at the debate right now. I am at a leadership conference improving on my abilities that will hopefully help to govern the ASB class next year. I am incredibly passionate about ASB and this school. While other candidates for ASB positions have stressed their involvement in clubs and leadership positions, I want to stress my absolute love for improving this school in as many ways as we can to make our lives a little bit better. As a sophomore representative and now the social media and publicity commissioner, I've illustrated an interest in roles in ASB that highlight my dedication to improving communication and transparency, and that ultimately get the answers to ASB's questions from the students themselves. As I'm not here to answer questions like my opponents are, I will be more than happy to talk to you anytime next week. Thank you. So that was Estella Rosen. Again, she was not able to be here. She's at a leadership conference. She says you can go talk to her whenever you need, so we'll take that. So we now have Kiana up here. Kiana, we will start with your 30-second opening statement.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Kiana Segbour, and I'm running for head row vice president. Since the 9th grade, I've looked forward to holding a position on head row and leading the school. This year, I headed Color Wars with the goal of bringing students together. As I planned and advertised, I began to create friendships with students that I barely knew. It has always been in me to want to give to people but not expect anything back, because I'm getting the best reward possible, which is bringing joy to other people. Representing the entire school is a big job, and I'm determined to make you all proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. So I'll start off with a question. So as you know, like Club Day is a really fun and special day on campus. A lot of people involve themselves and look forward to it. What's one way to improve it to where more clubs and more groups feel excited to attend?
I feel like on my part, I definitely have to make it clear that we encourage people to create clubs just because it brings the school together and brings more spirit. And I think I need to create meetings that will encourage people to come and show what they're passionate about, and that will encourage them to feel like it's actually needed in the school and that they take a big part in what we do.
How would you describe what your relationship would be like with your hetero president?
I think we are going to work very closely together. We are definitely going to have disagreements at times, but that is going to show that we need to learn how to compromise, like Ryan said. And I think that we definitely are going to have to spend a lot of time outside of school creating a relationship and making sure that we're on the same page, because that is definitely going to show day to day in the ASB classroom and even in the school. So I think we have to be very close.
So we just heard from the two presidential candidates, and we saw some of their major goals for next year, one of which being security and another being spirit. So what are your thoughts on security and spirit, and how will you help the president in making sure that those are achieved?
I think in terms of spirit, I do agree that the fence is just step one, and I think we will need to be taking more measures, as in like guards, and making sure that kids do feel secure in where they are, especially because education is very important, and that does affect how they feel at school. And in terms of school spirit, I think one of the steps that I really want to input next year is grade bonding events. I feel like this week, or this school year, we haven't had many events where kids can meet other people in their grades, and I think that's very important to increase school spirit.
Cool. So Kiana, you're really involved in the Norman Aid Center, and you're a peer counselor and all of that. How do you plan on bringing qualities and perspectives as a peer counselor to ASB?
I think that I've learned a lot that mental health is important in school spirit, and ASB obviously needs that school spirit. And I think to make people feel more comfortable, peer counseling background will actually help that, because I can talk to kids, make them feel comfortable, and really learn like what they're going through in school and connect that into ASB events.
If I could follow up really quick to that,
Yeah.
What's like one specific way to get to those kids that just don't look forward to coming to school and don't have a good outlook right now? Like, how do we get to those kids? How do we do that?
I think that ASB definitely needs to be very approachable, and I think that by creating events and talking to kids, I think face-to-face communication is really important, not just saying come and email ASB and tell us your opinions, but really just going up to kids, going into classes, asking them what do they want, what do they need, so that they feel like, oh, I have a say in what's going on at school, I want to come.
Very good. So Kiana, thank you very much. Thank you for coming today. We're now call up the representative candidates. We have one representative candidate. Again, that was Kiana, and the other candidate is Estella. She was not able to be here today. They will be your two vice presidential candidates. So
Who's
while
next?
the secretary comes
Secretary.
up, secretary is going to make her way. The one secretary we have today is Sarah Didion. Sarah, thank you for being here, and we're going to have her start with her 30-second opening statement.
Hi, I'm Sarah Yedidian, and I'm running for Head Row Secretary. I've been an active ASB member since my freshman year, and this year I created the Norman Update in collaboration with Kbev to really keep everyone at Beverly informed. So my goals for next year's Head Row Secretary are to keep everyone informed and involved and really boost school spirit.
Okay, so I'll start off. How will you make the minutes more, I know they're on the Beverly Hills website, but how will you make them more accessible to where kids know what is going on in ASB every day and making them just like transparent and accessible? Yeah.
So I think that it's really important that we really advertise the transparency of our minutes and that they are available to everyone online. I think a way that we could do that is maybe include them in our weekly Norman updates and maybe send out emails with a link or something to make sure that all students know that that's available for them to look at and really make ASB more approachable.
I know that Ryan and Jared kind of disagreed on this point, if ASB should tell students what they're doing or just let the quality of their events let students know that they are doing something. Where do you stand on that? Do you think ASB should actively tell kids what they're doing or just let kids figure it out?
I don't think we should just let kids figure it out, because then they'll be questioning ASB and wondering, you know, what is ASB doing? Why aren't our ideas getting to ASB? Why aren't our events that we want getting to ASB? So I think it's important that we advertise what we do and that we're there for students and that we're hearing their ideas so they know that we're advocating for them and that we're here for them and here to make their events.
So you're the only one running for this position. Why are you running for this position?
I'm running for this position because I really want an active, strong role in ASB. I've wanted a head row position because I really do enjoy leading and bringing the students together. So I think as head row secretary, I will really be able to take great minutes and keep the school involved.
Cool. So what are some qualities and what makes you a great fit to be secretary of Beverly Hills High School?
So I'm a very organized person and also a very involved person throughout the school. I'm in many different clubs such as DECA and Teen BHF and multiple things. So I think with my organized qualities, I will really take extensive, organized minutes that'll be easy for students to understand, for anyone to understand. And I think with my involvement in the Norman Update, that will help me keep students informed.
So the final question for you, I asked this of the unopposed candidates at the past debates, is how are people going to keep you accountable? Because there's no one else running, so why should they put their trust in you?
People should put their trust in me because of my past experience, my knowledge, and my desire. I really, really want this position. I really, really want to be involved and make Beverly a place that people want to go to. Right now we have a lot of different things going on that kind of make our school environment not so great. So I really want to strive to make the school environment better, especially because it's going to be my senior year and I want to set things up to be better for the future.
Sarah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job.
And we're now going to call up the two treasurer candidates for head row. We have, they're coming up right now. We have Aaron and Cameron. We will start with their two opening statements by random selection. We will have Cameron going first.
Good morning, Norman Nation, as Mr. Marika would say. I'm Cameron Weisfeld, and I'm running for head row treasurer. Previously, I served as junior treasurer and have been in ASB for 3 years. I promise if I am elected treasurer, I will always do my best and make sure I get everyone's input. When it comes to finances of Beverly Hills, I'll make sure everyone knows about all the dealings that goes on in the student store.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aaron Romani. I have been in ASB since my freshman year and have been in student council since middle school. After representing my grade as grade president for the past few years, I believe that I'm ready to take the next step by running for head row treasurer. My plan as head row treasurer is to not only manage the money that comes in and out of the school, but to also make a difference for the school overall. After raising over $13,000 for Wish Week, planning junior senior night, and contributing to all the other events across campus, I am prepared for what is to come my way next year as treasurer.
Thank you.
Cool. So a lot of people are really uneducated about the way ASB spends their money and has a budget. How will we make the budget more transparent and accessible to the public?
We'll start with you.
Okay, so my plan is to open up a website on the Beverly Hills website, make it much more clearer, because right now it's under the high school website, but it's not as clear. I plan on making it on the main page of the home of Beverly Hills High School.
That's cool.
If I could ask a follow-up, how do you plan on doing that?
So I have history with implementing websites and editing website software. So I plan on just creating the link and then linking it every day. Yeah.
It's a good idea.
One of the ideas that I want to bring to this class is having an app that like we had it a few years ago, like Danny Newman made an app, Beverly Hills High School app, that everybody downloaded to give them the latest updates. And I think that having an app that it could tell them what we're using our money for, what the money that they're giving is used for, giving them the latest updates in our school.
There's a similar question to Cameron's. How do you plan on developing that application?
I'm actually really close with Danny Newman, and he's excellent at software making apps, and I think we could just restart that app and have everyone starting from the freshman download. Yeah.
So I think free events are free things at lunch are a very good talking point and they look good on campaign statements. But what are kind of the finances of bringing free events to the entire student body? I guess we'll start with.
I think it's important to have an even balance between free events and giving things out that we pay for and to have people pay for the events that they attend. But I think in managing the budget and the finances with Trish and working with her, I think we'll be able to do that.
Adding on to what Aaron said, I feel free events also help raise school spirit because people won't feel obstructed when they visit events or when they have to get food. Rather, they'll feel like, oh, I can get this without any financial difficulties.
So ASB cards are a big part of ASB's revenue. How do you plan on increasing the sale of ASB cards so that more people throughout the school will have that? We'll go to you.
I just want to clarify that the ASB card, the money that we get from the ASB card doesn't go directly to ASB. It doesn't. We don't use that money for our funds or to pay for the things that we would like. I want to get people to get the ASB cards. The reason that people don't buy the ASB cards, I think, is that they don't really know what they can use it for. They're not informed about how they can save money by getting an ASB card, and by doing so, I think we could.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so for ASB cards, again, bring in some money. So how would you go about increasing the people that purchase an ASB card?
So we actually talked about this in ASB yesterday, and I feel we could do this by starting not from freshmen, but we could start in 8th grade. And during open house, we could have a table set up where all students and parents of 8th graders can see like all the benefits that come with buying an ASB card, like free entrance into football games or basketball games.
So how will you guys make sure that people who can't afford events that we host, let's say prom and all these other types of events, still come and still show their face around school, like at school events? How do you guys plan to reach out to those kids and help them?
One of my greatest goals, if I'm elected head row treasurer, is to decrease the price of all of our events. That doesn't mean making a prom like free, but really raising money throughout the school year so people don't really notice when they're giving $5, $10 here and there, so that to decrease the price of the events that we hold.
So as a follow-up, so you're saying that you just raise more money throughout the year. Is that the plan? If you could clarify.
Yeah,
that.
We have great relationships with some businesses, and I've planning Wish Week. I've created great relationships with a lot of businesses on Beverly Drive and other law offices. And by raising money starting from the beginning of the year, I think we'll be able to decrease the prices in order to help the people that can't afford that.
Adding on to what Aaron said, I feel sponsorships for many events will help lower the price of events. Like if we have a certain company do photos at prom, we could probably get that for a discounted price, which would then lower the total price of tickets. And also, adding on to what Aaron said, fundraising is really important, and if we fundraise enough money, we should be able to lower the cost of every ticket for everyone. And if anyone has financial difficulties, they should be able to talk to a counselor and ask for help.
If I could give a follow-up to that as well, could you clarify on what steps you would take in order to bring in those sponsorships?
So for formal this year, we directly had students from ASB go to companies on Beverly Drive asking if they were interested in like help funding formal. So if we just get the same companies as we had for formal to help sponsor prom, we could.
So did they subsidize their costs for this past prom and this formal?
I'm pretty sure we got over $3,000 alone donated from sponsors, which helped make a lot of things possible for formal.
Sorry, to clarify, you'll be using the existing connections to get the sponsorship.
And we could make new ones also, with Century City opening up right next to us.
Okay, thank you.
So how will you guys make sure that money is being spent the right way, whether it's in ASB, clubs, faculty? How will you make sure that the money is being spent correctly and the way it's supposed to be spent?
Okay, so my plan, if I'm elected for treasurer, I want to make a group chat or a Facebook group full of the presidents of every club. So if they ever have questions or want to get money for trips, they could easily come up and then write the PO to us, or write the PO or grant to us, and then it would pass through ASB first, and then we'd publish that on the group chat and ask for all the presidents of every club's input, where if it's over 50% accepted, they'll be able to accept the PO.
The first step that I think to make sure money is spent the right way is by being transparent. I think by being transparent, people can't think that we're using that money for different things, and the money is going straight to the place that they believe is going. I think by creating a good relationship with Trish and administration, I think we could make sure that money is being spent the right way.
And the follow-up to that is how would you go about making it more transparent for everyone to see?
Just like I said from the beginning, having the app that tells them everything that's going on in ASB, highlights other organizations in our school clubs, I think that could really help.
Very good, Jason. Any other further questions?
I'm good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now call up the two board members, the two student board member candidates.
Just tell them the highlights out.
Perfect. So thank you guys very much for coming today.
Welcome.
These are the two student board member candidates. The student board member, they sit on the board meetings every couple weeks and they input the student voice there. So we will start with your opening statements, 30 seconds. Seth will start with you.
Hi, Beverly Hills High School. My name is Seth Pizzaro, and last year I was the junior class representative. And now I'm running for student board member for the following 2 reasons. One, I have 2 years of ASB experience where I studied under the past board members, so I know I'm qualified for the job. And 2, I really want to increase student voice and student choice at all levels. So within BHHS, within the district, even at the local, state, and national levels. That way, every student's opinion will be heard and we can better advocate for district policy that will help BHHS students.
Hello everyone, my name is Sean Tooby, current junior vice president, and I'm running to be your next student board member. From being the president of clubs like DECA to presenting multiple reports to the Board of Education this year, I believe I have the experience necessary to be in this position. I'd like to utilize this experience in order to influence policy, enhance communication, and increase efficiency within our school and the ASB class. Above all, the board member position should be who you think is the best representation of the student body as a whole. And I believe my experience and my goals make me the best candidate in order to make change at Beverly. Thank you.
So we're going to do something a little bit different than the other debates. We're going to do a lightning round of sorts. I'm going to say kind of an issue that has been going on the board in probably the past 6 months-ish, and we're just going to have 15 seconds, just say what you think about it. So we're going to start with reconfiguration, Sean.
So I believe that it is extremely necessary to make a middle school at one of the elementary schools, because when we're talking about reconfiguration, the goal is optimization. And with that, making a middle school will not only help with the fiscal stance of our district, but also the extracurriculars and helping prep our students when they come into the high school.
I also agree with Sean that I believe reconfiguration is necessary and that we should form a middle school from it, but I also want to hear from you guys, the students, and get your opinions so I can report their opinions back to the board to get a full perspective of all students at Beverly Hills High School in addition to my opinion.
Okay, next one, the Union District impasse that's going on right now.
I think it could potentially be a big problem because if you guys don't know, the teachers and the Board of Education are at an impasse between teacher salaries, and so if they don't get that worked out, there could potentially be a strike, so I would do everything in my power to help get that fixed so we can go to school.
And I also think it's really important to help, we really have to talk about the salary formula, because when we're going to be talking about the fiscal stance of our district, if we don't consider that salary formula, then there'll be a lot of problems and we won't actually be able to do reconfiguration this coming year.
All right, third one, Measure BH.
So we saw with Measure E how that passed, and also Measure Y that didn't pass. After those two precedents, we really need Measure BH to pass, because us students, we really want spirit to raise in our school, and by having these facilities built up again, I really think that's what's going to be the key.
For those that don't know, Measure BH is the bond that the city residents need to pass in order for us to resume construction at Beverly Hills High School. And I think that's extremely necessary for us because obviously we want our school to be a great place with new technologies and new buildings. So I think it is extremely necessary for us to get that passed so we can have a brand new and better school.
And then a final one, an SRO program at all 5 schools.
I think that is also really necessary because as the presidential candidates touched on, our school needs to become safe as well as all the other elementary schools, and so having armed police officers that are trained at all the schools will definitely help with increasing safety.
And I also agree with that. Safety always comes first. And when we're talking about having an amazing high school experience, we have to make sure that all the students at Beverly and at all the elementary schools are safe on the grounds. So having an SRO at all the campuses will make that solution a lot better.
Cool. Okay, so on a different note, board issues directly affect every single person at the school and living in the city. How do we educate students at this school on what exactly is going on at each board member and create a drive for students to want to attend those meetings?
I'll go first. So one of the things I want to do is like report back to the students directly. So this year we started a series of transparent meetings, so know what's going on in ASB and with administration. And I want to give a short report at the beginning of each of those meetings, so the student body knows what's going on at all these board meetings. I also want to give students the opportunity to look at the board report that goes on at each board meeting, because those are public to everybody, and so I want to really ensure that students know what's going on at these board meetings.
And can you please repeat the question?
Yes. Sorry. So board issues directly affect students and everybody in the city. How do we better educate students on what is going on at the board meetings and create a drive for students and faculty to attend those meetings?
So I think a main problem we had this year with the publicizing in ASB is the communication with the students. And so something I hope to implement next year is a form of a direct messaging platform. And I'm not sure if some of you are familiar with the Remind app, but basically in the beginning of the year, everyone texts a 5-digit number, this code, and everyone will be in the single thread. And that will give me, I can make an own thread for the board member, and that will give me the ability to directly text students on certain issues, so they could directly tell me their opinions that I could report back to the board.
Cool.
Thank you. So during the lightning round, we talked about Measure BH. Can you guys tell us how, it seems you both are in favor of it, making sure it passes. How will you work to make sure that that happens? Sean?
So what we really need, again, is the students' input, and also making sure they're all informed on what Measure BH is. And we know that all the seniors that are graduating this year, they're 18 years old, and they have the opportunity to vote on this measure. They have the opportunity to influence their family members and to influence the families they know in this community. So in all, it's just a huge effort to make sure everyone's informed and advocating for the benefits that will bring to the school.
One of the things that I'm currently doing is I volunteered for the campaign for Vote Yes on Measure BH. So I'm helping hand out flyers and explaining to people like what Measure BH is and why it would be good for our schools. So that's one thing I'm doing to help get Measure BH passed. And another thing I want to do is help 18-year-olds and even 16 and 17-year-olds at our school get pre-registered and registered to vote, so they're actually eligible to vote once the election comes around. So again, like Sean said, it's just making sure people are informed and eligible to vote.
And what do you mentioned the student gives a report at every board meeting. What do you think you should use that for? Should it be to give your opinion on issues, or just to say what has been happening at the high school level?
So I think that report should be its own thing, to be reporting on what's going on at Beverly, because that it's its own section in the board meeting itself, and that will give me the opportunity to talk to the board members of what's going on at Beverly and how everything's doing. Separately, when we're having the discussions throughout the meeting, I think that's the chance for me to give my own opinion and the student's opinion to get a student's insight on all the stuff that are happening with the board decisions.
I actually disagree on that, because yes, it'd be nice for the board members to know what's going on at our high school, but what also goes on to at our high school are student issues. And so the job of the board member is to report to the other adult board members, like what is a student issue, like the fence, there's parking, there's test issues. And so we can help get these issues solved at the top level of our school district.
I'll ask a follow-up to that. With that time allotted for you guys to speak, as of right now, what do you guys want to highlight in that time? Like, what certain issues are you guys passionate about and want to talk about?
Personally, like just most of the issues Jason mentioned, like reconfiguration, I think not even all of our students know what that is, and that their elementary school could potentially change. And so I want to get student opinions on that. I want to get student opinions on new security measures around the school, and that they're changed liberties, and I want to bring those opinions and report it back to the board, mainly those two specific issues.
And so for me, it's pretty similar to Seth, that the most important stuff for me are reconfiguration and safety. And something I believe that we don't have put into place yet is actually not only reaching out to the Beverly students, but the elementary school students as well. All these safety issues, all these reconfiguration stuff that are going to go into place will affect them as well. So I really think it's not only to advocate at Beverly and on the board, but to help get all the elementary school input as well.
What do you think is a proper relationship to have with the board members you're serving with?
I think you should have a positive relationship with every board member, because if you don't, like, bad things can happen, bad arguments can break out. But also it should be a professional relationship where you're able to talk about all the issues you need to talk about, and so you're not mad at each other that you can't communicate with the other person. So you need to have a nice relationship where you can talk about all the issues you need to talk about.
And so, as I've said before, collaboration and communication is key. And so whenever I'm talking with the board, whether it's in the meetings or outside of the meetings, it's really important to develop that relationship with them. So throughout the school year, if I'm elected, they'll be able to listen to me, and I'll give their insight to them about certain issues, just to create that whole bond on the board.
So if you have a personal idea and a personal decision on some topic going on at school, but you realize that there's a different perspective among the student body, how will you be able to, will you go with what you think, or will you take what the student body thinks, and how will you be able to go about that, Sean?
So for me, the school's voice is more important than my voice. So whenever I'm going to be giving my insight on the board meetings, yes, I will give my own opinions on the topic, but with the new communication efforts, I hope to get all the students' input, because that way I'll be able to tell the board what really is going on at Beverly, what all the students think on certain issues, because that is what really will affect us.
So as a follow-up to that, you would give your opinion and their opinion at the same time?
Yes, because it's important to know what the school thinks, and then what also the board member thinks on certain issues, because I myself will be affiliated with all these things firsthand. And so after getting that experience, it's important for the board member, because I will be representing the school. And it's important to give that person that is representing the ability to talk on behalf of the students as well.
The purpose of the student board member position is to represent the Beverly Hills High School student body on issues to the Beverly Hills Board of Education. And so I would choose the student opinion over my opinion. I agree with Sean where I would mention my own opinion just because I'm very involved and active in the issues themselves, so I feel like I would have a pretty informed decision. But in the end, if it ever came to a vote, I would clearly go with the student body's opinion or position on the issue, just because that's the function of the board member.
So as a follow-up to both of those, do you think that mentioning your own opinion would undermine the decision, because the board members would look at that and see that you have a split with the student body? So do you think that would cause problems?
I do not, because if anything, transparency is what we should be showing the board, and having everything in place to show them what different student groups think. Well, they see what the board member thinks, they see what different clubs think, they see what different diverse groups on campus think about certain issues. That'll give them the ability to get greater insight on, okay, this is what the overall views are on these certain issues, so they could take everything into consideration.
Personally, I don't think it will affect their thinking at all. Just similar to what Sean said, first of all, it's good to get both sides of, like, both opinions on a side of an issue, but I'd clearly emphasize that this is the decision I recommend, the student body's decision, not my decision, just because that's the function of the board member, and their opinion as a whole is more important than mine.
So the student board member currently does not have a vote. Do you wish you did, Sean?
So I believe it varies, because on big issues, it's better to have the board members decide, but on smaller things like security or things that will things that impact the students more, I think the student should have a voice, because it's going to affect directly. So on those issues that directly affect the students, I think the student board member should have a vote.
I think the student board member should have a vote in pretty much all decisions, just because the student board member can be just as informed as the adult board members, and we bring, as students, a different perspective to issues, where those current board members just are parents or like former parents, community members that have adult opinions of, like, parents and maybe teachers or people who are working, and they don't have a student perspective that can vote. And so I think having a student who can vote with a vote that actually counts could be very beneficial and good for the board.
And before we finish up, I want to ask if you're coming to a board meeting, you guys are both great candidates. So if we see one of you coming to the board meeting, why do you think it should be you? Seth, we'll start with you.
Personally, I think, first of all, my experience under the last two board members, I've talked to them and gone to many board meetings in the past, and I know how a board report works. I know like what goes on in these board meetings, so that's my experience. It could help. And second of all, just how I want to help the students, how I want to help increase student voice and choice through pre-registering them to vote, by educating them on these issues, and so that's why I think I'm the best candidate for the job.
And so I actually believe that my experience makes me the best candidate because, number one, I've been affiliated with a bunch of different clubs and groups on campus with the leadership positions that I have been taking. So I believe that I could see all the different views from different groups on campus to report that back to the board. And in addition, I've been very much affiliated with the board this year, talking to the board members, talking to the current student board member, advocating for Measure BH. So I've really taught myself about everything that goes on within the board, and I really feel like I will be the best candidate for the job.
Well, thank you guys very much for answering all our questions, doing a great job.
Great job, guys.
Go off now. So first I want to say great job to my fellow moderators.
Yes,
thank
great
you guys
job.
so much. Jason, sorry for that. This has been a great week of debates that we've had here. We've talked to so many of the different candidates of the different grades. You will be voting next week, April 30th. The polls will open on Juno. So make sure you vote for your candidates. You got to learn so much about them.
Yes, make sure to vote. It's really
vote.
important.
It's very important. Make sure you have your voice heard in these upcoming elections. And you have been watching the Head Row debate today here on Kbev6.com and on Channel 6 Spectrum in Beverly Hills. You can learn more about the candidates with their bios at BeverlyHighlights.com. You can also look back on Kbev6.com for all the past debates and look closely into the candidates. And thank you for following all the debates this week. So I'm Noah Danesh again, and thank you for watching.